Welcome back to my KEEPUP channel. Court showdown: Lauryn Goodman slammed by judge following bombshell case against Kyle Walker after demanding thousands for childcare. In a scathing court ruling delivered today, the Instagram influencer was accused by a judge of cashing in on his betrayal of wife Annie Kilner. She knew he was desperate to keep the birth of their one-year-old daughter Kinera Storm a secret and used it as leverage to get what she wanted, a judge said. The damning 30-page document brands her an unreliable witness who tailored her evidence to suit her case rather than the truth. And it laid bare her wild shopping sprees and outrageous demands after a previous judge had slammed her for spending money like it was going out of fashion. They included £33,000 for air conditioning at her 7-bedroom mansion in Hove, Sussex, a £22,000 furnishing fund, £70,000 for a Mercedes GLE, to be replaced every 3 years, and a £30,000 car allowance for a nanny. On top of that, she wanted £14,750 a month in child maintenance, £3,900 a month in childcare costs, a bespoke wood and glass baby gate and even an iron. She also insisted on £31,200 for an AstroTurf pitch, telling the court that baby Kinera had kicked a ball with her left foot from a crawling position and showed a talent as a potential lioness of the future. Kyle, who court documents revealed is worth a staggering £27 million, had already shelled out £48,000 for fitted wardrobes and a media screen, £75,000 for a furnishing fund, £9,115 for 14 CCTV cameras, £5,650 for an alarm and £52,164 for curtains and a blind. In a highly rare move for the often secretive family courts, Judge Edward Hess lifted reporting restrictions to lift the lid on a scandal that has gripped the nation all year. He praised Kyle's grace, generosity, and kindness and said he had acted with dignity and, once the secret was out, honesty. He applauded his exclusive interview with The Sun in the wake of the revelations and said it was more to his credit than otherwise. In stark contrast, he was scathing of Lauryn and her behavior. The judge said, throughout 2023, he sought to keep secret the fact that he was Kinera's father. It is clear from the evidence that he was understandably embarrassed about this fact and anxious about how his wife would react when she found out. In his attempts to persuade the mother to go along with the retention of secrecy, the father gave way to many of the financial demands of the mother which he might otherwise have resisted. The evidence before me has amply demonstrated that the mother was able to leverage these substantial increases by hinting that she would go public on the paternity issue. She also threatened that if she did not get what she wanted, she would select a home a stone's throw away from his in Cheshire, an idea which she knew horrified the father. If the father thought that these rather generous house budget increases would keep his paternity a secret, he was to be disappointed. The mother plainly had no intention of keeping the matter secret. He added, I think the father was correct to observe that the mother was in many ways treating him as an open-ended checkbook. He said the £150,000 a week Manchester City star, who also has 4-year-old son Cairo to Lauryn, gave way to a flurry of financial demands in a bid to keep her quiet. He even increased her housing budget from £1.85 million to £2.4 million after she threatened to move within 10 minutes of his Cheshire home. But in his withering assessment of Lauryn, Judge Edward Hess said she had no intention of ever keeping it a secret. She laid a trail of breadcrumbs with a series of social media hints and had not just cooperated with, but actively instigated a feeding frenzy that erupted after he was finally exposed. The court was told Lauryn had applied for a financial remedies hearing for Kinera just 2 days after she was born on June 28 last year. Both Kyle and Lauryn gave evidence during a 2-day hearing at the Central Family Court in London less than 48 hours after England's heartbreaking defeat to Spain in the Euros final. Fullback Kyle, 34, who earns £10 million a year, flew home with his 3 Lions teammates after the 2-1 loss before arriving at court the next day in a suit for the showdown. He successfully applied to adjourn the case by a day because of the final, despite Lauryn insisting that he should not be given permission to celebrate or commiserate with his teammates. They were each grilled for 3.5 hours over the financial provisions for Kinera. Kyle told the hearing, If I was a painter or decorator, I can guarantee this would not have gone this far. It couldn't have gone this far. I wouldn't be able to afford it. I have paid for everything. I have had 4 boys with Annie and I have never had a nanny. We do everything ourselves. If the nanny needs a car, when the nanny can use Lauryn's vehicle, I would probably employ one who drove to begin with. I don't know how many people you would like me to pay for. Does she want a chef? Lauryn also gave evidence, but Judge Hess was left far from impressed and was brutal in his summing up of her evidence to court. He revealed Kyle had paid for his and Lauryn's legal fees, which soared above £1 million. He went on, "In my view, the father's presentation before me was sensible, honest, and reliable. Plainly, he was embarrassed and remorseful as to the difficult situation in which he has placed a number of people, including all of his children, and regretted his decision-making in trying to keep his paternity of Kinera a secret. But he has, in my view, acted with dignity and generosity, and, once the secret was out, honesty, in facing up to the financial and personal consequences of what happened. In contrast, my assessment of the mother is that she was not reliable. She often said what she thought would help her case rather than what was true, failed to make a calm and measured assessment of what she needed, and often exaggerated her need to spend money. She also went out of her way to blame Kyle for the newspaper coverage, despite being overwhelmingly responsible for it. The judge even included extracts from another damaging judgment for Lauryn issued in private in 2022 after another hearing to settle the financial arrangements for Cairo, then too. The judge at the time, Recorder Alexander Chandler, observed, "I regret to say that I found her evidence wanting in several respects. She generally found it very difficult to give a straight answer. She argued with counsel, asked questions back and, in my judgment, sought wherever possible to argue her case rather than give simple, straightforward answers. The mother showed a remarkable lack of insight in relation to her own spending. While it may serve the mother's purpose to see herself as the victim in this case, I cannot see any proper basis for suggesting that the father has sought to punish her or deny her proper financial support. In my judgment, this is a fantasy on the mother's part which enables her to avoid responsibility for her actions, which amount to spending money as if it was going out of fashion. I do not accept that she either tried or did give this court an honest and clear account of the background." By contrast, Kyle was regarded as a perfectly straightforward witness who gave his answers in an even and thoughtful tone and demonstrated commendable maturity. Judge Hess concluded by waving away the vast bulk of Lauryn's financial demands. Dismissing her £33,000 request for air conditioning, he said, "As the father said, on the fairly small number of days in England when it is very hot, any discomfort can usually be dealt with by closing blinds/curtains and deploying a modestly priced electric fan. That is what happens in his home," he said, and although he conceded that it may be generally a little colder in Cheshire than in Sussex, he thought, and I agree with him, that air conditioning is rarely needed in an English home. And he refused to grant her wish of a trust fund to cover Cairo and Kinara's nursery and school fees, saying he had little confidence in Lauryn's ability to deal with it in a reliable and sensible way. Speaking after today's ruling, Kyle spoke out against Lauryn's insatiable greed and relentless pursuit of money. His spokeswoman added, "The judge made it clear, she used Kyle as an open-ended checkbook and repeatedly threatened him in order to get what she wanted. She then orchestrated a media campaign to feed intolerable and wrongful intrusion into the private lives of Kyle, Annie, and their young family." Throughout each court proceeding, the judge stated that Kyle adopted a fair and generous stance. These proceedings were never necessary. Kyle's offer should have been accepted months ago and would therefore have eliminated the need for added stress to all involved. Lauryn meanwhile called herself a dedicated single mother as she vowed to always do her best for her children. She said, "Thanks to my legal team and the judge's decision, my children's childhood is secure and I will now focus on building a solid future for them so as to provide for the time when the children's home reverts back to their father. More than anything, I look forward to enjoying every moment with my children and the three of us being able to get on with our lives." Source: thesun.co.uk. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.